So, namaste and welcome to this Satsang Q&A, where we answer questions that have been sent in to be read out here. And this is volume 13. So every month we go through the questions that have been sent in. And people are sending questions for a couple of reasons. Maybe you can't make it to a live satsang and ask a question live with me. Or maybe you'd rather have your question answered, read out and answered anonymously. So that's one of the benefits of doing it this way also. So if you have a question, you're welcome to go to the website, and the links are in the description underneath this video on YouTube, where to submit the question. And at the end, towards the end of the month, we do a recording like this and get through as many as we can. So as always, I am here with Anish, who's going to read the questions for me just to help me out. So whenever you're ready, Anish, we can get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. First question. What is the difference between consciousness and life force?
Yeah, it's something that really confused me for a very long time. It was not really very clear to me. So it's a good question to ask. And really, consciousness is unmanifest in its essence, it is formless, whereas life force is perhaps the first form, the first subtle form that we will notice. And really, that is the only difference. Life force is a form, albeit a very, very subtle one. It is perceivable by consciousness, and it is following the properties of a form. It's changing, it's moving. So that's really the only difference. When consciousness seems to take a shape or a form, whether that's a human being or an animal or a plant, there'll be some manifestation of life force which supports that form for as long as that form is in form. So it's a very, very subtle manifestation. So subtle that we might not think it is a form at all, but nonetheless, it really is perceivable. So I hope that helps to clear that one up. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Hi, Helen. Heartfelt thanks to all your teachings. Life has thrown some difficult challenges, and the teachings have been my guiding force. Thanks. I heard your recent satsang on non-dual love, expressing in human relationships, which really hit close. My story in short. My daughter, who is in her late 20s, has stopped all communication with me. I have not seen her in 2 years. We shared a very loving relationship. We spoke every single day on all topics, including philosophy, and had a lot of fun together. She had a difficult relationship with her father. He is extremely loving and would do anything for her, but they had clashing personalities. She called up one day and said she doesn't want any contact with her family anymore. It has been a shock and very difficult to deal with. In this case, what is the best I can do for the relationship as there is no interaction at all? Thanks.
Yeah, it's going to be, of course, very, very challenging when we're used to having close communication with someone that we're so close to, especially our child. And the best thing that we can do, of course, is to remain as much as possible as the infinite self, rather than imagining that we are a separate being. So, what does that mean in this situation? Well, it means, first of all, authenticity. You said it was very, very shocking and difficult, and the infinite formless self that you really are is going to have this capacity to feel those emotions, to not run away from whatever wants to come to the surface around this. And secondly, to see any stories that you might find yourself telling around this. For example, I should have done something differently as a parent. I'm not a good enough parent, or questioning, why this has happened. As much as our mind would like to know why this has happened, really, we don't know. And um, the best thing that we can do is to just notice the stories coming to the surface. Or, this person must have influenced them, or this is why it's happening, or trying to figure out how long it's going to last for. All of that, of course, is normal um, as a human being. But for the fastest resolution, in whichever way, first thing is to come to peace with it yourself. And that doesn't mean that you ever like the situation. It doesn't mean that you have to come to a place of feeling joyful even about it. But peaceful, because we're totally allowing any and all emotions that come with this. If we are suppressing any emotions or telling any stories around this, we won't feel peaceful. So noticing stories but not believing them. Noticing the mind trying to explain why this has happened. Looking for an anchor point and a plan of what to do to make it right. Just doing your best to just notice those that are going on and to be clear in your own mind what you would really like. And if you can begin to imagine in your mind. It's a practice we use in our community, um, which you're welcome to join at any time. Everyone is welcome, of course. It's called conscious imagining. And what we do is we take what we don't like and we bring our focus to what we do like and what we do want. So begin to imagine what we do want as if it's already happened and doing our best to feel good about it. So, this situation with your um, daughter, you might, of course, ultimately want the relationship to resolve as it was. But when you try to imagine everything being completely fine between you, you can't believe that that's possible right now, maybe. So, it doesn't feel good when you imagine it. So, that's the ultimate goal. This is where it is now, and this is where you would like it to be. So, in conscious imagining, we just find some place between these two where we feel good. Can I imagine seeing my daughter and feeling good about it? Just meeting for a neutral coffee somewhere. Well, I can see it in my imagination, but it just still doesn't feel so good. Okay, can I imagine receiving an email or a text message from her? Um, just maybe expressing love, but nothing more. Does that feel good? Okay, yeah, that feels better. That feels believable. And we simply do 30 days conscious imagining, 5 minutes a day, is fine as long as it feels good. Mostly we unconsciously imagine, and that is that we think about, run it over in our mind again and again and again, focusing on what we do not want. And so it's very hard for a positive outcome to manifest when we're totally laser focused on what we do not want. We get stuck in this. This is the thing that's happening that I don't like. And look at, I don't like this. Why is this happening? So, conscious imagining, even just 5 minutes a day, bringing your attention to what you do want, finding that place where it feels good. And then that's enough to counterbalance the rest of the entire waking day, worrying about what we don't want. You begin to notice that your focus is all powerful. Ultimately, we only have that choice to focus on what we don't want or what we do want. And we're choosing more consciously here when we do conscious imagining. It's just any picture or image that you can imagine that feels good. Ultimately, the end goal is to have the relationship as it was, of course, or better even. But finding what you can believe right now and working with that for 30 days. Maybe over the 30 days, you can move a little closer to the ultimate goal in your imagining, but maybe not. Either way, it's going to bring the biggest potential for a positive shift in this situation. So I've given you a lot there to go through. Maybe you just need to listen to this section a few times and just distill out the distinct bits that need looking at. But I'm thinking of you and my heart is with you. Thanks, Anish.
A similar question next, Helen. I'm in a lot of pain. I have a difficult relationship with my 20-year-old daughter. I struggle to feel the love and strength I need. What can I do to act from a more loving vibration?
What you can do, first of all, is to listen to the, rather than repeating myself, listen to the previous answer because it will totally apply everything I said in that previous answer. But secondly, also to recognize that you are the loving vibration. Don't take the evidence of, you said here, struggle to feel the love and strength I need. That's your mind, right? That is what your mind is saying. You are the one that's lovingly watching the mind. All you can be is love. And if you find judgments about yourself or others arising or seeming lack of strength, really looking to see what is it that you really are. And the fact that it's not what you really are is not even separate to your child. And so that's going to give a whole different perspective to the way that you look at this. And looking at it from the place of what's real, knowing that you are not separate to anyone is going to really shift what you think is possible. Most of all for you, though, being kind to yourself. I feel like there's some self-judgment here that you should be able to be more loving or something like that. Is that true? Can you make your mind change its opinion, and do you need to? Not so much. More that we can recognize the loving presence that we already are, that is holding both body minds in its loving embrace and allowing them to be whatever they are in this particular moment. So please do go back and listen to the one right before this and follow the advice on there too, because it will be very applicable for yourself also. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. I was introduced to Helen Hamilton by a colleague who attended an in person retreat with her, and he told me he experienced a great transformation. Could you please answer my question? I have deforming osteoarthritis and many health problems, and now I'm going through a serious situation. I can barely walk due to the massive deterioration of my knees, which is preventing me from walking. Since my mother passed away in April of last year, I've been increasing pain and increasingly limited movement. She died in unbearable pain throughout her body. I don't know what else to do because I work with energetic medicine and I have had acupuncture, homeopathy, and do meditation with techniques from different teachers. But I'm not making progress, and I'm very worried, and I'm very afraid of dying like my mother, with physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual pain. Helen, can you give me your opinion, please? You inspire great confidence in me since my friend told me that your teachings go directly to awakening, that you transmit simplicity and humility, and you reach the heart of the person, giving the peace they need.
And thank you for your kind words. And again, let me go directly to the root of it. And what I would really recommend is to take a look here on the YouTube channel. There's playlists for contemplation. So rather than describing it all again, I'd ask you to watch the contemplation videos and begin to apply that technique as soon as possible. So, any physical issue with our body, whether it's pain or illness or disease that is going on within the body, is a reflection of an emotion that currently we can't quite bring ourselves to feel. And that is, of course, very, very normal. But also, the emotion is a reflection of an idea that we're holding on to. And for many beings, in fact, almost every being, myself included, every being that I come across, sometimes needs a little help just to undo these old ways of thinking about ourselves. So as we begin to see who we really are the infinite presence, the consciousness, even before we've had a clear seeing sometimes, even just to know, even intellectually, that I'm not a separate person. The beliefs that we're holding on to with a tightness, with a conviction, begin to really cause a challenge for the physical body because these things seem true while we thought we were a person, but really they've never been true. So I'm talking about beliefs such as things that we're not conscious of, beliefs such as I'm not safe, or I'm not good enough, or I'm a limited being, I can't get what I want. So these thoughts are so believed, automatic by, if we feel that we're a person, of course we don't feel safe because we think we're going to die eventually. The body dies, but not you. If we think we're a separate person, we're going to feel some sense of inadequacy or unworthiness because we keep trying to measure up to a picture our mind has of who we should be. And that isn't really who we are. Who we are is already completely perfect. So most people can go their whole lives without these beliefs becoming too problematic. But if we're destined for awakening in this lifetime, which you are, then these beliefs begin to really, if you imagine as awakening deepens, then all the life force in the body is increasing, meaning there's more life force and it's flowing faster, like a very fast river moving with a lot of water moving. If you imagine life force to be like that and it's going through the system, where it meets a vibration that's very slow, such as I'm not good enough, there's something fundamentally wrong with me, or I'm not safe, something that's very untrue. It's like a big boulder planted right in the middle of this fast flowing river, and the river smashes up against it. And this is what we feel. This is why it manifests as dis-ease. Even the word disease is dis-ease of this life force. There's no ease of flow, there's no harmony there. So this fast flowing energy meets this very heavy, slow flowing energy, very stagnant energy, low frequency of this belief. What do we do about that? Well, contemplation is designed exactly for that. How do we undo a belief if we don't even know that we're believing it? Well, firstly, we can tell that the body's telling us that there's something we need to look at. On its own, the body would resort back to its natural health and well-being, but these beliefs are becoming more problematic for you. So I suggest looking at what emotions they are. You mentioned fear here in what you've written. And I'm sure, like me, there'd be many, such as guilt or shame or anger. I had to look at all these using a 30-day process. What does fear tell me? It said to me, I'm not safe. And then I turned that then into a question and questioned it with the contemplative process. Again, I won't go into it in too much detail here. It's better that you watch the videos. There's a lot of videos there to dive into and just begin questioning, is it really true? I'm not safe, or whatever fear says to you. And contemplation is going to begin to undo this. As we ask the question, we can't believe the thought. They're two opposite things. I can't believe that I'm not safe and question if that's true at the same time. It's one or the other. Contemplation is a way of bringing our attention away from that thought because we get stuck in, look, my body's in pain. I might become much more ill. I might eventually die. And our mind is trying to figure out why we feel fear. It says, I feel fear because of the situation my body is in. And if my body would heal, I'd feel better. But actually, it's the other way around. Actually, it is that I'm just scared. There's this belief that I'm not safe. And that is reflecting as fear. So there's a belief, and then there's the emotional component to that fear. And then there's a physical component. For me, that was my very, very intense. There were some challenges with the body, but also financial dis-ease, relationship dis-ease, all kinds of ways it's showing up. So you have all of our karmic patterns are passed down through generations. So you can see probably similar things to your parents, but you have a tool that perhaps they didn't have access to, which is contemplation. So have a look at that, take a look at that and dive in. And if you do want some extra help with that, you're welcome at any time to join our community. There are some amazing qualified chariot teachers that are available. I just don't have the time, unfortunately, to work one-on-one with people these days. But there are some beautiful teachers that can help you with that, with applying contemplation. And there's also a whole 3 or 4 years archive of classes on contemplation also that we have done as part of our community. So I hope that that helps, and I know that you have every resource that you need to do this. If having said all of that, you watch the videos and you're a little confused, you can always write back in and just ask for a little more clarity on this. Thanks so much, Anish.
Next question. I am increasingly aware of the extent to which my experience of life is colored by fear. I recognize a process in the mind that keeps me stuck, but I cannot seem to overcome this bind. I'm afraid that if I let go of fear, that life will test me to ensure that I have really done so, and test me thoroughly by bringing about all of my worst imagined fears: prison, destitution, violence, etc., etc. I live in a state of anxiety and dread. This dream is a nightmare in which I feel scared to move in case it gets worse. Even if I recognize that none of these worst fears can affect who I really am, I still absolutely do not want I still absolutely do not want to experience them, and so I relent to fear. It is no exaggeration to say I would rather die than live through the scenarios my mind produces. I feel stuck in a state of contracted misery. I would appreciate your insights as to how to respond to this situation.
So, the first thing I want to say here is that, and as unlikely as this may seem, it is also true. I have to tell you the truth. The truth is that your mind has no power to create the scenarios that it is projecting, let's say. So, what the mind imagines might happen if you don't overcome this fear is only what the mind imagines might happen. You have ultimate control over this because you are the infinite self, the formless presence, the formless divine consciousness. Life will only give us opportunities. It doesn't test us in this way. Life will give us opportunities to look at what needs to be looked at. And there's two things going on here that I really want to bring attention to kind of help crystallize a easy way for you to move forward with this. The first is that we're never challenged to overcome fear. Let me explain that a little bit. Mine says that you might experience these situations, um, and that the likelihood of you experiencing these situations is going to be there until you've completely let go of all fear, until the body no longer ever feels fear. But actually, what is important in the determination of what we actually have to experience is not have we overcome this emotion, but how much do we want to see that it does not apply to us. That's a very different thing. So I'm going to say it again just to kind of say it very directly. You're only responsible for cultivating a desire to see that you, the infinite formless consciousness, can never be scared. There is fear in the body, but not that you're scared. You, the consciousness, the formless reality. Inside you are many bodies, and not all of them are scared. Some have fear, some have guilt, some have shame, some have peace, some have bliss, some have joy. So, the number one thing I want you to really hear is you're only responsible for the desire to transcend this completely. By transcending this, I don't mean getting rid of fear. I mean seeing that it never affected you. Fear seems to affect the person that you think you are, but it never affects the real self. And because of the intensity of the fear, the desire is already there to transcend it. That's the big news. The good news headline that I want you to hear is that um, because of the intensity of the desire and the craziness of the mind, sorry, intensity of the emotion of fear and the craziness of the mind and all its scenarios, the desire is already there. If you look, right, it's there very strongly, the desire to transcend this. We're just getting clear on what transcending it means. It means that even while the body is still feeling fear, there's no capacity for you to experience anything bad happening to you as the infinite self. If those things were destined to happen that your mind has projected, they would have already happened while you were unconsciously totally believing that you're a separate person. Now you're starting to wake up and realize that you have a capacity to question this. So, really wanting to see if the mind has any power at all is a really good thing to investigate. Really wanting to see if the mind can make something happen is probably the last place you want to go in your investigation. For me, it terrorized me, this idea that my mind could make something show up in my life. So finally, I said, okay, I'm going to really look at this. Can my mind actually make anything happen? Is it sentient like that? To my astonishment, I found it wasn't. It was just a bunch of computer programs, software programs running, and it had no capacity to change those programs. But the operator, me, the real self, did by questioning. So you might have to listen to this a few times just to really get the depth of it. But what you're fearing is not possible. You're fearing that your mind can make you go through all of these things, and it cannot. It is insentient, the mind. It has no power at all. Thoughts are simply coming based on the vibration of fear that's in the body, that's all. So that's really good news, right? It's the mind hopefully starts to give you a little relief right there. And that you can't uh continue to think that you're just destined to follow wherever the mind takes you. You have always ultimate control. You are the formless source of all manifestation. The universe is your form, not just one body and mind. So remembering the power that you are, and that this idea that the mind can make you go through this thing, it can make your body feel terrible by believing it, but it can never actually happen because I know who you are, because I know who I am. I know what everything is. There's no tiny thing such as mind that can influence that from which the whole galaxies and cosmos arise. So find out what the mind is really capable of, and this fear will be gone forever. Totally. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. I'm waiting for test results to find out whether I have cancer. I am scared during this uncertain time. I understand that I am awareness, and awareness does not die. But this body mind doesn't want to die. Any suggestions?
First of all, let me say that I am with you all the time and sending my love as you go through this difficult situation. Secondly, of course, your body mind does not want to die, and of course, there are going to be emotions that come to the surface with that. So I'd like to ask you to take the time to listen to all my previous answers on this video because they will all apply to you. And especially the one where we talked about contemplation and disease and illness in the body. There are contemplation videos here on this channel. One of the playlists is the one of the core teachings. This whole teaching is built around three staple pillars of the teaching. The first is meditation, the second is contemplation, the third is self-inquiry. And so contemplation helps us to clean up these beliefs, our ability to focus on these beliefs that are unconsciously in there, in our psyche, that seem very, very true as a separate being. But now, as we begin to wake up to the truth, they're just becoming more and more problematic. So I know it might take some time and you can do it bit by bit, but perhaps go back and listen to all the other answers. Begin some contemplation if you haven't already. Then, or if you're new to it, do it for 30 days. Find the emotion and then ask what that emotion wants to tell you, not about the possible diagnosis. And this will make more sense as you've watched the videos, but what's the belief in itself? And then turn that into a question. And what you've said here, it also is pertinent. Just acceptance, if you can, of what you do feel. Even if there was a diagnosis for this body tomorrow, of a terminal diagnosis, whatever came up for that, even though, as you said, I know I can't die, there would still be probably some emotions that come to the surface with that diagnosis. And there would be no capacity to suppress those emotions. And obviously, if some contemplation needed to happen here, there would be. Another thing that you might find really helpful is to ask, as strange as it may seem, to ask this question for 30 days. You might find it really helpful. Can the body even really die? I looked at this question myself. It seems a strange question because everyone believes the body's born and that the body dies. But this question took me deeper into seeing that actually the body is always being formed again, anew and afresh every moment. We tend to believe that our body was born at this date and is going to last for this long, and that this date it's going to die. When I actually looked, it was assembled over 9 months in a womb, and it's been constantly renewed throughout that time. And all my life, it's not like this body is how it is and never changes. All my cells, just as yours, are being constantly replaced. And the body really, I think that the oldest part of our body is our skeleton structure, which is roughly about maximum 8 years old. Everything else has been replaced in that time, everything else. Skin cells, hair cells, everything. With the exception of maybe brain cells. But so our body really isn't what we think it is either. And ultimately, we see in our self-inquiry that our body is made of this formless consciousness too, and is capable of immense healing. Our job, our role in that healing process is to feel what we're not willing to feel. Not to be happy about it, but to be willing to face what we need to look at emotionally, and then ask what that wants to tell us, what belief is hiding behind the emotion, and begin the contemplation process. When we've done that, the fear will not be running the show. So whatever happens to the body, there can be peace. And I don't know what's destined to happen for your body, but of course I'm always with you, sending you love and healing. And I will hold you in my prayers. Um, and if you need more help with this, please do write back in. You might also find it helpful to join our community. I've said it several times throughout this video, but there are teachers there that can guide you one-to-one with contemplation. And also there's a whole archive of resources there over 4 years and growing. 5 years actually, and growing from classes that we've done on the core teachings. So hope that helps, and sending all my love. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. I know I am already free. I've remained as awareness, the witness. I've had amazing visions, otherworldly experiences. Yet I sometimes still fall into identification with the persona. On a practical level, despite having health, joy, and loving relationships, I lost my business and home last year and now live with family, apart from my sons. What I most want is a stable home for my children and to live in financial overflow. How do I align my lived experience with the truth of my inner freedom and allow abundance to fully express itself in my life?
Yeah, it's very, very common, and it's the same. What you're experiencing is very similar to what happened for me, and I see it time and time again that we have a deep experience, a deep seeing of who we really are, and begin to reside as that um, awareness, infinite awareness, more and more. And the first thing that's going to happen is, of course, a desire arises to live as that permanently, effortlessly, stable, without any having to kind of remember who I am. And when that desire arises, the first thing that's going to happen is everything that's in the way of us living from that place is going to come to the surface. It's been there the whole time, but it hasn't really bothered us because we thought we were a separate being. But again, I would ask you to listen to all of this video when you can, because we talked a lot about contemplation. Contemplation is a way to undo the beliefs that we're still holding on to that we might not even be aware of, that are manifesting as our external situation. So, our prevailing negative emotions are going to show us what beliefs are still in there in our psyche to undo. Because there is a myth in spirituality that just to see who we are and to have a deep recognition of that is enough to blast away all of this old way of thinking. And there are very few beings who have actually had that happen. In actuality, most of us, I certainly did, have to balance seeing who we are with looking at what we're not, the old idea of ourselves. And we can do that simply by contemplating, beginning to look at what beliefs are in there. And as we question these beliefs, then our outer world, which is a reflection of our inner world of thoughts and emotions, beliefs and emotions, can begin to change. Right now, your experience is reflecting the beliefs that are still being held on to. And we get stuck in a cause and effect thinking. So my mind says, I'm scared because I don't have enough money. And when I have enough money, then I'll feel safer. But actually, because I don't feel safe, there's a lot of fear, and there's also a lot of dis-ease in my relationships, on my body, on my finances, or wherever it's showing up for us. So nothing is going wrong here. But it is true that we sometimes need a little extra tool to let go of these beliefs. Our way of thinking about ourselves and the world doesn't automatically change just because we've seen ourselves to be the infinite awareness. Much to my surprise, um, I had to also look at this, do this work for myself. And so I'd really encourage you to look at the contemplation videos here on YouTube channel and dive in. As we let go of believing a thought, the emotion that goes with that thought begins to diminish also. And also any external reflection of that thought and that belief will begin to change. So your life is just showing you where contemplation is needed, and it will turn right around those experiences to the opposite, more than enough of whatever it is that you want or need. So I hope that helps.
Next question. In December, I'm going to have an eye test to see what's happening to my retina. They've already confirmed that I have retinopathy. I just need to be told what kind it is because there are fatal ones and others that can be treated. I'm very worried because if this diagnosis is wrong, I could lose my vision and I don't know how to handle this. I need you to tell me how to handle all this uncertainty I feel about not knowing what's going to happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll answer this. It would probably be the last one for today. First of all, let me start off by saying again that I'm with you through this process. I am, I am you. You are me, and so our hearts are connected completely. The other thing I really want to say is that in each of us there is something that is deeply uncomfortable with uncertainty, deeply uncomfortable. Our mind or our separate sense of self, it wants to know. It wants to know because if I know something, says my mind, then I'm going to feel more secure and I know how to move forward from that place. But whatever we know is not really going to be true anyway. What that means is no thought is true. What I think I know is just a thought and is different to what's actually true, what's actually real. So that part of us that is desperately grasping onto trying to find some control. How do I handle this? You said. And that's a really good question to ask. But rather than the way the mind asks that question, how do I handle this? What do I need to do? You can ask it from a different place. How do I handle this? Seeing if you can bring some curiosity to that. And I'm saying this because who you really are is uncertainty, is the unknown. What you really are is a mystery, formless, infinite presence beyond time and space. And it's only the tiniest fraction of you that wants to know and have that seeming security. Everything I thought I knew, I had to really look at and see, is that really, can I be certain it's true anyway? So, which part of you really, really already is already comfortable with uncertainty and not knowing? So, this question, how do I handle this? Has a different feeling tone to it, right? You could also do some self-inquiry and actually begin to see if you can find the one that's freaking out about this. Is that a person? What is it that wants to, needs to know with such tenacity here? And can you find that person that you think you are? Actually, when I asked myself this, I found a body and I found some fear, but I couldn't find any entity that was feeling those things. There was just this formless presence and the fear in a body. Um, and when I looked at what I really am, it is totally unknowable. And I began to, over time, fall in love with the mystery of who we are. That none of us have ever really known what's going to happen. As much as our minds said, see, I knew that was going to happen, um, we can't really predict what's going to happen like that. Ultimately, shockingly, none of us know, right? None of us know at all. And we can think, if I look at what I'm going to do after this recording is finished, I think, okay, I have this option, this option, this option. I might do this, or I might go there, or I need to get this. Really, my body's going to do whatever it does anyway. My mind only thinks it knows. And it thinks that by thinking through things, it makes it more possible. Okay, let me think about what groceries I need to buy, and then the shopping trip will be more efficient and all of that. Do we really know all of that is true? Is my body just going to go around the store in the way that it's going to go? So just noticing that and asking to deeply inquire which part of me is already completely at peace here with this. not fighting that bit of you that's not at peace, of course. That which you really are is already totally okay, and lovingly embracing that part of you that doesn't feel okay at all with this uncertainty. So see if you can find the person that needs to know. You might be really, really surprised. And if it helps, there are, of course, self-inquiry videos here on the YouTube channel. Um, and yeah, you're welcome to look into those. It's some very detailed videos there of how to actually do self-inquiry. And that will really help you find some deeper place inside yourself, where there's peace no matter what happens with the body. And of course, you'd like it to be well, of course. You'd like it to be healthy as well. But we must first find that place inside ourselves that is peaceful no matter what. So I hope that helps. So thank you for all the questions that you sent in. And thank you, Anish, for reading the questions so eloquently, as always. And I just want to close this by again um letting you know that you're more than welcome to send a question in. If you would like it read out anonymously here, or you just can't make it to a live Zoom meeting where we do the satsang, and you can find the links in the description underneath this video for that. And please try to keep your question as concise as you can. That really helps. You're also always welcome. Everyone's welcome to join our community. We have a large and growing community with a kind of virtual ashram over WhatsApp, and I'm able to answer questions in there as usually every day. So if you have a need for a sense of community and a support of a vibrant community, then you're more than welcome. There's so many resources in our community, as I pointed to already, the wealth of archives of classes that you can get access to, qualified teachers that have gone through a rigorous process with myself, making sure that they're guiding people through contemplation, meditation, self-inquiry, is up to the standard that I would like. If you want some one-on-one help, they are available for you. And there's capacity to explore working with a buddy. We use a buddy system to help each other practice and help reflect back to each other as well. There are so many benefits to the community. So you can check that out as well if you feel it's for you. If not, that's totally okay. And again, the link will be underneath this video in the description. So that's it for today. Thank you again for your questions, and we will see you next month for the next volume. Thank you so much. Namaste.